Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I am going to provide the answer of the weekly challenge which I have posted this week. In case you were able to successfully complete the challenge and you have shared me the answer, congratulations for adding something on your skill. In case you were not able to complete the solution and you are still looking for the answer, you are in the correct video. In this video, I am going to code this problem statement in a step-by-step manner. So, in case you are struggling, you can watch this video and you will get the solution for the problem statement. In case you are coming to the channel for the first time and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the next videos in this series. This week challenge was challenge number TBMK0005 and the name of the challenge was Cipher Detection Challenge. And in this challenge we were supposed to check whether the two input strings are ciphered to each other or not, right? We have already discussed the problem statement in detail in the previous problem statement video. So in case you haven't already watched that video, you can just watch that video and understand the problem statement. I'll quickly give you a context of the problem so that when we are building the solution, you guys remember what we are trying to build. Okay. So the input of the automation is simple. We have to give two input strings such as listen and silent, right? If you see, if I rearrange the word of listen, it will be silent, or if I rearrange the word of silent, I'll still get listen, right? So that means I can say that string 1 and string 2 are ciphers of each other. Okay, let's take one other example. Integral triangle, astronomer or moon star, right? Here you can see I have a star. I have a space in between, but still if I arrange them, I'll still get the same ciphers, right? So what would be the case when there is no cipher? For example, this hello and world. So if I rearrange this word, I won't get them either, right? So this says that the inputs are not ciphers, right? Now here is one tricky one. Here you see we have some special characters involved, right? But here we don't have the special characters, right? So that means that in the automation we have to take care of the special characters as well as the spaces, right? So this would be the overall agenda, guys. We have to take two inputs and we have to get an output whether the strings are cipher or not. Okay, so let's get started by going to the UiPath Studio. And this is a sequence I have just created. Okay, so I'll go to the variables, and first thing first, let's create two variables. Okay, so I will create, we want as a string input, so I will say str underscore input 1. Okay, I think I have put a space, so I'll just go here. I'll create the second variable str underscore input 2. Okay, so these two variables I have created. I'll go to the activities. First, I'll drag and drop a sequence. Okay, I'll call this sequence as input because this is where we are going to get the input. Okay, so I'll go here and next I'll take an assign activity, drag and drop it here, and in the assign activity I'll say that str input 1 is having some value and str input 2 is having some value, right? So this is the place where we can just provide the inputs. Okay, so I'll go here and let's try to take some of the inputs like this one. Okay, integral and triangle. Go here. So we have the first input, and in the second input I can say triangle. Okay, so this is one of the inputs, right? So this sequence is going to get the input from the user. Once we have got the input, if you see here, we are having different variances of the inputs, right? If you see here it is both in small, but sometime what might happen that this triangle may be in capital. Okay, if you see here, I have a scenario where I have to handle the space. And then also I have a scenario where I have to handle the special characters as well. So That means that before I do the comparison logic, I need to make sure that my input is correct or my input is clean, right? Then only we can do the manipulation, we can write the logic to compare, right? So first of all, we need to remove the unnecessary characters, and which in our case would be this space and this special character. Also, before we do any kind of string manipulation, it is important for us to note that the case of both of the string should be same. So capital M and small m are different. So if I compare, I might not get a correct result, right? So what we are going to do is, we are going to convert the input string to a lowercase, both of them, and we are also going to remove the space and the special characters. So once I do that, I would have something which is called a clean output. Okay, so I'll go back to the UiPath Studio. I hope you understood what we just discussed, right? So I am trying to have a clean output or clean input, right? So I'll take one more sequence here. After the input is done, right, we have got the input. In the sequence, we are saying that we are cleaning the input. So cleaning the input. So what I'll do is, I'll go to the variables, I'll create two more variables. Okay, I'll say str underscore clean input 1. Okay, and the second one I would say str underscore clean input 2. Right, the definition of clean input is that we want to remove the extra character and we want to make everything to the lowercase. Okay, now in the first cleaned variable which we have just created, which is str underscore clean 1, right, we want to clean the input string, right? Now there can be multiple way of cleaning the input string, right? You can write it in a loop and do it one by one. However, a better way would be to do it with the help of LINQ, also known as language integrated query. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, I will write an LINQ and I will try to explain it to you in a step-by-step manner. Okay, so first of all, we want to clean which input? So I want to clean an input which is this guy, which is in this variable, sorry, str underscore input 1, which is the raw input. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll tell UiPath that get me all the characters from that string excluding the special characters or the punctuation marks. Okay, so I am writing a syntax in LINQ where I am telling UiPath to give me only the characters. I do not want anything. I do not want space. I do not want the exclamation, question mark, anything I do not want, right? So how can I write an function? So as of now, if you see, str underscore input 1 is in a string, and when UiPath is returning me, it might return it in a list or in a collection. That collection would be an array. Okay, or in other words, I can say that give me only the characters and ignore all the punctuation marks. Okay, so how can I write it? So our input is in this variable, which is str underscore input 1. Okay, I'll put a dot and I'll just write where, and then I will specify a function. So I'll just specify a function. I'll write here the keyword which is called function. Okay, then C, which indicates the characters, right, because we want to check all the characters, right? I'll put a space and then I will say not character. Okay, so now I'll say that I want to get the characters which are not what? There is a function which is called is punctuation. I want to get all the characters which are not punctuation, and I'll put the characters here, right? So when UiPath is going through all these, the output of this thing would be an array. Now what is an array? An array is a collection. It will have all the individual elements one by one, A, B, C, D. If there is a question mark, is there exclamation, it would be removed, right? So output of this thing would be an array. So I'll simply go here and I'll say dot to array. Okay, so we are done till this point, so it will give us an array. So if I run this till this point, what would happen? I will get an array of characters which is just having all the characters. It can be number, it can be alphabets, capital letter, small letters, but it would have excluded all the special characters. Okay, now before we do any manipulation, we have to get the output back to a string variable. Why? Because we have to do the string manipulation, and as of now what we have done is we have converted that thing to an array, right? So how do I convert it back to a string, right? So I'll put it in double quotes here, put it in bracket like this, and I'll simply write here something which is called new string. Now what would happen? Whatever this thing is giving me, right, A, B, C, D, small a, capital A, excluding all the special characters, is now in a new string variable. Okay, now what is the thing we have to do? Now we have to remove the extra spaces, right? So how do we remove? So I'll say something dot replace, which is a string function. So I'll put again dot replace. Okay, now what do you want to replace? So in the double quotes I'll say replace space, put a comma, with what? With nothing. So I put a blank, and finally to do the comparison we want everything to in the lower case. So I'll put a dot and I say here to lower. Now as you can see guys, I am not getting the intelligence, but trust me, this thing works. Okay, so this is the syntax which I have written. Okay, let me quickly explain again. So this was our input. I have written a function where I am telling UiPath that give me all the characters excluding the punctuation marks, right? So it will exclude all the punctuation marks. The result would be an array, right? So since the result is an array and we want the final output to be a string, I have made something here which is called new string from here. See the bracket, right? This is the bracket here. So now I have got a string. Now what do we have to do? We have to replace the space. So I use a function which is called dot replace, which is applicable only to string. So replace space with nothing, and at the end I want to make sure that everything is in a lowercase so that it is easy for the comparison. So that's why I mention here dot to lower. Okay, I'll save this, and now in the clean output we would have the absolutely clean output whatever we are expecting, right? The same which I did for the first variable, we have to also clean the second variable as well. So what I'll do, I'll just change the variable here str input 2, and here I'll say that instead of str input 1, now you clear str input 2. Okay, to test this what I'll do is we'll just go here and I will use an activity called write line. Okay, and let's print the values clean input 1 and clean input 2, right? This is not required, this is just for you guys to understand that what we have done. Okay, so now if you see here I am giving an integral, and I'll make this I as capital. Okay, I'll put here something like PART, I'll put exclamation, then I will write A B C D, right? And here in the triangle I'll put some exclamation, I'll put something like this, right? Anything you can have, right? I'll put some question mark and then maybe ASD something, right? So this is what I have given, right? So this is my first input, right? I is capital, then part is, then we have some, then ABCD, then a space, right? And then this is the second input which we have given, right? I'll save this. Let me go here and I'll say run the file. Okay, so let's see what do we get in the cleans output. I'll go to the output and you can see that integral part A B C D, everything in small, all the special character removed. Same happens for this thing as well, right? So that means that we have successfully cleaned the output. Okay, so once I have cleansed both the input string, right, what should be the logic to check whether they are cipher or not, right? So here is the logic. Let me try to write it in a notepad so all of us understand, right? So I have a word which is called listen, and then I have other word which is called, I guess, silent, right? So I'll just go here and I'll make it in silent, and it might have some extra characters, right? So this is our logic. Okay, I'll just expand it. So tick 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 tick, this is our input, right? And this is our input, sorry, my bad, this is our input 2 and this is our input 1, right? So what we did it, we clean them, and then I have got listen, LISTEN in small, and SILENT silent in small, right? So till this point we have got. So now what I have got is these two things. This I can call as clean input CI1, right? And this I can call as clean input 2, right? Now what I can see is that I have to check whether they will rearrange or not. So what I can do is I can arrange them in order of alphabets, right? So I can see that the first alphabet, which is I guess I, right? So if I say E, I, L, okay, and L, and then okay, I guess then we would have N, and then S, and then T, right? So if I rearrange this, I'll get this, right, in alphabetical order. And if I rearrange this, I'll again get the same thing. So all we have to do is now just rearrange and compare. If we rearrange them and we compare, and if you get both of them as the same string, you can say these are the ciphers, right? So this is the logic which we have to implement now. Okay, so I hope this entire logic is clear to you. So we have reached till this point. Let's try to code this statement. Okay, I'll go back to my UiPath Studio. So once you have both of them in the clean output, so we have the input, we have the cleaning, and then I'll take one more sequence. Okay, I'll call this sequence as compare. And since I want to do a comparison, so I will go here and I'll take an activity called if, drag and drop it here, and here I am going to write the same condition which we discussed. I'll go here and I'll open it in advanced editor, right? So now the same thing which we have discussed, once I have both the inputs in the lowest case, I just want to compare them. Okay, so I will write an statement here in the first input string dot order by, okay, and then I will write a function. I'll call here something which is called function. So this syntax, guys, whatever I am writing, dot order, dot function, dot c, this is all the syntax of LINQ, also known as the language integrated query. Okay, so whatever you see on the screen, whichever I have written, order by function c and c, is a LINQ operation. This operation will sort the characters in ascending order. Okay, it will essentially take each and every character of the string and order them based on the Unicode. So string has something which is called Unicode, and by writing this statement, what I am doing is I am actually sorting it to the smallest to largest. Okay, so this will just do it for from smallest to largest, right? So I have done it for the first one, so I can copy this, I'll hit enter, and I'll do it same for the second one as well. Okay, so I have done it for the first one, I have done it for the second one, right? Now what do I have to do? I have to compare both of them, that whether whatever you have ordered is same or not, the sequence is same or not. So here I'll just put dot and I'll write something which is called sequence equal. See, this one, sequence equal of what? Sequence equal of the second thing. So I'll put everything from this control X inside here. So this becomes our 𝐔𝐞𝐞 to compare it, right? So I'll just make it small. Yeah. So str clean input 1 dot order by function. This will till this part. This will actually sort it. Sequence equal. This will again sort it, and then we are comparing both of them to check whether the sequence is equal or not. Okay, and this guy is eventually going to return us a boolean variable which would be either true or false. Okay, so I'll remove this extra spaces and I'll say save, and that becomes our condition. If everything is good, let's go to the string. We have to print this statement. The input string are ciphers. Copy, and I'll use something which is called log message. Drag and drop it here, right? So whenever we are running an automation, log message activity will print this in the output console when you are running in development, but when you run it in from the production machine, it will go to the orchestrator. Okay, I'll paste it here and I say that the input string are not ciphers, right? In case this is returning false, it would say that these are not the ciphers. Okay, I just talked about orchestrator. So in case you guys want to know more about orchestrator and you're absolute beginner, I have a dedicated course available on Graphy where I am covering all of this syllabus which you are looking on the screen. So the link of the course is available in the description, and as of now we are also offering some of the discounts. Okay, cool. So we have got this statement, right? So if this is true, it will print this. If it is false, it will say that these are not the ciphers. Okay, now all we have to do is save everything and let's try to compare and print it. Okay, so these are the two inputs. So let's start with this one. I'll go here and I'll say run the file, and it says that this, and see, these are not the ciphers of one another, right? So this is coming from the right line which we have just tested, right? So if I go here and I just remove this additional stuffs, right? So I can say integral is the first one and the second one is the triangle, right? So I can leave this one, that would be handled, right? I'll save this, go here and say run the file. Okay, so now integral and triangle, it is again re-evaluate. Let's see the output. Okay, and you can see here the input strings are cipher of each other, right? It remove the extra character, made to the lower case, and then it does the calculations. Okay, let's go to the here and let's try to get some of the input string such as this one. I'll copy this, paste it here, the Morse code, and the second one was this one. I'll copy this, pass it here, save this, go here and I say run the file. Okay, so let's wait for the output, and it says that the input string are ciphers of one another, right? Now let's test for something which are not ciphers. So I'll just go here and I'll say my name, let's say Mukesh. I'll save this, go here, run the file, and in the output you can see that the input are not ciphers of each other, right? So this is the complete solution for this problem statement. Okay, now what you can do is you can always do an exception handling, put it in try catch, exception handling here, exception handling here, and exception handling here as well, right? Which I have not done, but I'll leave it to your implementation, right? So this was the actual problem statement which we have done with the help of 𝐔𝐞𝐞. Okay, so now I want to show you one of the submission from the challenge. Okay, so if you see here, the solution start by having a two sequences, input sequence and the processing sequence. If I go here and I expand the input sequence, you would notice that the developer has used an input dialog. Again, we can use the message box, we can use the assign activity, but here they have chosen to use the input dialog. We got both the inputs and this is just printing the input that yes, both the inputs were accepted successfully. Okay. Now there is the other sequence which is called the processing sequence. In the processing sequence, after that you would notice that there is something which is called a cleaner rejects pattern, and here the comment says that this pattern will help us to retain the alphanumeric characters and eliminate all the special characters. So this is the rejects pattern which they have written, right? Now after that there is an activity which is used, which is called invoke code. Invoke code is an activity where you can write a VB.NET or a C# code and you can get this thing done. Okay, so if you see here, this is the code. So as an input to the code, let me show you the arguments, right? And while passing the input, you would notice here, this is where the rejects pattern is used to make it in the lowercase and also validate with the rejects pattern. Okay, now if I go inside the code, I'll go here and I'll say edit the code. Okay, now this is the VB.NET code where we are comparing the characters between both the string, and if everything works well, we are just printing those characters and printing the output result as well. Also, as an output, we had something which is called a boolean flag. So that boolean flag is either marked as true or either marked as false, right? This code will be also available in the website to download for your reference. Okay, so you can just go and study this code as well. Okay, and if you see here at the end, if the flag is true or false, based on that we decide whether they are cipher or not, right? So this was the one solution which was done with the help of rejects plus VB.NET. Okay. Next, I want to share one more solution, guys, where all of that, whatever I was doing with the activity, this solution is doing everything with the help of VB.NET code. So if you see here, automation start with input string 1, input string 2, and this is the invoke code. If I go here and edit the code, you would notice the logic exactly the same which I was doing. The only difference would be that all this thing is done directly in the VB.NET code, right? So if you see here, get the input string, second input string, clean the variables which is known as the clean string, where you say where functions is character C.toArray, then you compare the two string with the same syntax and you directly print the output directly here in the console, right? And also the exceptions are handled as well, right? So whatever I was doing with the help of activities, the same automation is now done with the help of VB.NET code, right? So this is the second code which I wanted to share. I'll also upload this code in the solution for your reference. Okay, so to get all the code for the challenges, you have to go to this website mukeshkala.com, go to the challenges. Okay, and here same like we have all the challenges 1, 2, 3 and 4. You would have the next window here which is tutorials by TBMK0005, and you would have the code, everything for you to download and refer it on your own. Okay, so that is all for this video. I would like to wrap this video here. I hope this was insightful. If you have any more questions, any more doubts, feel free to write me in the comments, or you can also drop me an email as well. I would appreciate your feedback on the video, and tell me in the comments what would be the next topic or next video you want to see. So with that, I would wrap this video here. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.